This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a dialogue on Indo-Pak trade standoff on LoC. The participants are Veena Sikri, former diplomat, and Mahendra Ved, senior journalist.
India-Pakistan relations, forever sensitive and unpredictable, taken yet another downward plunge, this time on the economic and trade side. From a truck that brought almonds for a trader on the Indian side of Kashmir, 100 kilos of heroin has been found. It is said that it's worth ₹1 billion. India has detained the driver and the police has registered a first information report. Pakistan has retaliated by stopping altogether all traffic of passengers and trade and trucks, all along the line of control. Now, this has happened just a day after Commerce Ministers of India and Pakistan met, and they had a very long discussion on how the trade should be improved and how banks should be set up and how all measures to be taken. Now, this is exactly what I mean by one step forward, two steps backward. How do you look at the situation?
This is an indication of a very worrisome trend in the relations between India and Pakistan. This relationship is not acquiring a stable upward momentum. And it is a sign of the immaturity or the weakness of the relationship that any small incident puts it 3 steps backwards. Now you see what has happened with this incident, that the truck was caught on the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. But on the Pakistan side, the Pakistan occupied Kashmir's Authority for Trade and Transport, they are accusing the Indian side of staging a drama. So on their side, the version is the exact opposite. And they are saying that this has been done deliberately by the Indian side, and they had the media there, and they had the Anti-Narcotics Bureau there. So this was done deliberately, and this was stage managed because somebody does not want good trade relations between India and Pakistan. Now for the Indian side, this is the exact thing that they will say about Pakistan. And what is happening is that the actual progress which was there when the Pakistan Commerce Minister and the Pakistan Commerce Secretary came to India, that has been wiped out, it seems, because obviously this has taken the prime position, and now you have the Pakistan side saying things like that our truck driver has diplomatic immunity, so you can't do anything to him. And, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs has called the Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan. I believe yesterday that happened. So it is getting worse and worse. And certainly it seems that whenever there is an upward momentum in any aspect of Indian-Pakistan relations, it is so easy to derail this. Just one small incident. So what India and Pakistan need to think about and need to talk about very seriously, if there is any sincerity in what Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said that he is committed to improving relations between India and Pakistan, we need to work out a mechanism whereby any one particular incident does not derail the entire issue, but there's a mechanism for that issue, that incident to be looked into immediately. So if there is this incident, then I'm sure there must be some video filming, there must be some proof. So Indian side should be able to give proof to the Pakistan side. We need to look at quite seriously, and that is that was the Pakistan side, are they really serious about the improvement in trade relations? Because yes, the Pakistan Minister of Commerce was here. They decided, okay, we will not agree to MFN, but they used a new terminology now. NDMA, Non-Discriminatory Market Access for goods between India and Pakistan.
And we have accepted it.
We have accepted that, and maybe this could be a way out, because after all we are only interested in the whole infrastructure of trade being good. But this needs now a rethink. Is it a serious mechanism? Because if we all know that actually this declaration of more items of trade, this has happened after a commitment which Pakistan made to the IMF last year, when they wanted some money from the IMF, an extended finance facility under the EFF. They got $6 billion, and they said, we give a commitment, they gave it in writing, a letter of intent, that we will improve trade relations between India and Pakistan. And this is how it's happening. So who is serious and who is not serious? This is very difficult.
You see, as you rightly put it, both the Prime Ministers, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has been an economist, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has been a businessman of long standing, and both have been very, very keen on improving trade ties, because there is the feeling that, well, trade ties will lead to better relations. The late Narasimha Rao used to say that create 100 families on Indian side and 100 families on Pakistan side, and there will be a business, and that will be a stake in ensuring peace. Now that kind of thing doesn't seem to happen. In fact, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's famous words were in 2005 that we cannot redraw borders, but we can certainly work together to make them irrelevant. And the whole target as a line of control in Kashmir has been to make the whole line irrelevant. Now that doesn't seem to work, because every time India does something, Pakistan reacts. Now, as you rightly said, that they say that it's all negative propaganda by India, meant to defame us and meant to malign us. And they don't seem to accept any of the things that whenever we see. Now, 100 kilos of heroin coming out in 114 packets. Now, the thing is that you have detained the driver. Now, the Pakistan's version is that India has no right to detain the driver. They cannot question the driver. They cannot question the traders going from Pakistan to India. If that is done, that is violation of this agreement on the cross-border trade. And what is the factual situation?
There are international norms for cross-border trade. There is not India and Pakistan are not the only countries in the world, and certainly not the first countries in the world protocol in such matters. And obviously the person who is carrying the goods is the first person who is responsible. I mean, if somebody is caught, say, at the customs border with some contraband items, it is that person who is caught. He may say, these goods are not mine, or so-and-so gave it to me, or I don't know who put it here. He can say anything, but it has been caught in his possession. So that is the logic of detaining the driver, so that you get from him further information that who are the goods being carried for, what are the documents, what do the documents say. He has the full documentation. So this is a very normal procedure in any country in the world, that whoever is carrying the goods or conducting them across the border will be responsible for the goods in the first instance. Now it is the next step to be found out that what were the papers he was carrying, what did the papers show, what is actually the situation on the ground, who are the papers in the name of, who is the person on the other side. So this is a very normal procedure. It really shows that if India-Pakistan trade is to be a serious factor, I fully agree with you that trade is a very important aspect of people-to-people relationship, a very important aspect for building trust and confidence, a very important aspect for creating a win-win situation, because families on both sides benefit from the trade, and you have one item coming and maybe 5 families on that side are working to create that item. So, it has a strong multiplier effect. But still, if India and Pakistan are serious about this trade, they have to put in place very clear-cut and unambiguous procedures.
Is it lack of seriousness, or is it lack of trust? The trust deficit that we see now, how do you get over this trust deficit?
The trust deficit is certainly there. In this case, you're seeing straight away from detaining one driver has become a diplomatic incident. You want diplomatic immunity. So the only way to overcome the trust deficit is, of course, to try and continue the trade. But for that trade to continue in a way that will be meaningful and purposeful and beneficial to both sides, you have to have a lot of very stringent procedures in place of international standards. After all, India and Pakistan respectively trade with all countries of the world. They're very big trading nations. They are familiar with all these procedures. They know what international rules are and norms are. So please apply those in the bilateral trade as well.
What is happening is being done knowingly. As a result, you have India detaining 49 trucks.
I understand that actually Pakistan does not want those trucks to come back until all of them come back. They say this is a convoy. If you detain one driver, we don't want the other truck. So you send everybody back. And so you can't take out the driver. And they have detained the 27 trucks which were waiting to come back to India from that. And they have suspended the bus service between Srinagar, Muzaffarabad and the Rawalkot, Punch bus service. Both bus services. So this is a very adverse humanitarian impact. So this is actually escalated the whole issue. As we know that in any bilateral trade, in any movement of people, contraband goods are taken across. When they are caught, there is a standard operating procedure for that. So I don't see that Indian government would have done anything beyond this standard operating procedure. So I think that India and Pakistan should be clear about this, and certainly this incident should be facts and figures.
Where does one start? It seems we are all the time starting. Now, the chief ministers of both the Punjabs met. Shahbaz Sharif was here and he met Prakash Singh Badal. Only last week, the two commerce ministers met. You have a huge border, 3,300 kilometer border. It's not merely the LoC. What about the Punjab border? They talked of opening the Wagah Atari thing. 2 years ago, they were talking of along the Sindh, Munabao and Khokropar thing being opened. Well, imagine businessmen in Karachi having to go all the way to LoC or to Punjab, Khokropad, Munabal is possible. But politicians meet that they say all the nice things and they agree. Then the bureaucrats meet and they say all the nice things. The diplomats meet and they say things. And somewhere on the ground things don't work out. And then the military comes in. Now you have this Pakistani officer in charge of this trade and travel, and he says that some elements of Indian military doesn't want it. How far does his homilies work?
I think that our Commerce Ministry spoke about this yesterday. There was a release of a report on India-Pakistan trade.
Yes, ICRI.
Yes, and in fact the trade is quite substantial. Even the official trade. 10 years ago it was like a little $144 million. Now it is $2.7 billion. But this is the formal trade. Actually, informal trade, they say, could be anywhere up to 10 billion. Because they say that, for example, in Pakistan, every Pakistani car or truck or auto has Indian-made tires. But officially, these are not traded at all. These are all going from third country with, of course, a huge increase in price. Informal trade would be a different amount. That is just pure smuggling. And I think one of the problems is that because so many vested interests have developed in keeping this third country trade open, because there's so many middlemen and they make all the money. So now it's becoming impossible to bring that into the regular bilateral trade, which could move with very little duty and which could move in a very smooth way. So that is one issue. And second issue that, even simple things like harmonization of nomenclatures, having a strict protocol, a regime of trade, that what will happen in case there is a smuggler who is caught. There is no financial connectivity. Banks operating in each other's countries, flow of investment money from each other's countries. So there is a lot of work, and I think that sometimes India-Pakistan relations get too carried away by superficial feel-good factors. Like the Commerce Minister came, you feel very good. So, this is a very strange kind of a pattern of operation. So we should rather not have this excessive feel-good and excessive feel-bad, but move on a steady, even keel in a very sober manner, in a way that brings the benefit to the people and also benefits the two countries' bilateral relations.
Yes, there was, again, as you said, all the feel-good delegation from Lahore Chamber of Commerce was there in Agra a couple of months ago. And the chief of Lahore Chamber of Commerce, they were all very well received in Agra. And the chief of Lahore Chamber of Commerce says that cross-border trade will kill cross-border terrorism. Now, how do you look at that?
Well, I don't know whether it will kill cross-border terrorism, because trade and smuggling and terrorism, these things can be interlinked. But what trade will do is that it will create stakeholders on both sides in a very positive, legal, direct method of interaction between countries, which is normal between all countries in the world, but has not been happening between India and Pakistan.
Somewhere, do you think that there is this feeling in Pakistan that they would be swept off by the Indian business and Indian goods and all?
Actually, Pakistan is a country where their own manufacturing industry is limited. And there are some sectors in which they have done very well. There is a great scope for India and Pakistan working together to get a better selling price in world markets.
Well, on that positive note, thank you very much, Ambassador.
You were listening to a dialogue on Indo-Pak trade standoff on LoC. The participants were Veena Sikri, former diplomat, and Mahendra Vaid, senior journalist. It came to you in the program News Analysis, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.